The crisp morning air bit at Evan's cheeks, a welcome sensation that always made him feel truly alive. Beside him, Sam adjusted the straps of his worn backpack, a familiar sound that had accompanied countless adventures over the years. They stood at the foot of Mount Cinder, a formidable peak whose summit promised breathtaking views and a much-needed escape from the everyday hustle. For Evan and Sam, hiking wasn't just a hobby. It was a ritual, a shared language spoken through panting breaths and the crunch of boots on dirt. They'd known each other since grade school, their friendship as solid and enduring as the ancient trees that lined the lower slopes. "Ready for another grand ascent, old man?" Sam teased, a glint in his eye as he playfully nudged Evan with his elbow. Sam, with his easy grin and boundless energy, always made even the toughest trails feel a little lighter. Evan chuckled, pulling his own pack higher on his shoulders. "As ready as I'll ever be, you spring chicken. Just try to keep up." Their banter was as much a part of their hikes as the water bottles and trail mix. It was a comfortable rhythm, a testament to years of shared experiences and unspoken understanding. The trail began gently, winding through a dense forest where shafts of sunlight pierced the canopy, dappling the path in shifting patterns of light and shadow. The air was cool and smelled of damp earth and pine needles, a scent that always filled Evan with a sense of peace. He loved the quiet solitude of nature, the way the world seemed to slow down and simplify when surrounded by towering trees and the distant chirping of unseen birds. Sam, ever the observant one, pointed to a patch of vibrant blue wildflowers peeking out from under a fallen log. "Look at those, Evan. Always surprises me what you find when you really look." Evan knelt down, admiring the delicate petals. "They're beautiful. You've always had an eye for the small wonders, Sam." He remembered a time, years ago, when Sam had spent an entire afternoon trying to capture a perfect photo of a tiny ladybug on a leaf. It was one of the many things Evan admired about his friend, that ability to find joy and beauty in the simplest things. As they climbed higher, the path grew steeper, demanding more effort with each step. Their conversation dwindled, replaced by the steady rhythm of their breathing and the soft thud of their boots. The forest began to thin, giving way to more open stretches where the sun beat down warmly. They passed by ancient rock formations, their surfaces covered in moss and lichen, looking like silent guardians of the mountain. Evan found his thoughts drifting as they often did on these long hikes. He thought about the easy way Sam moved, the strength in his stride, the way his hair fell across his forehead when he bent to tie a loose shoelace. He pushed these thoughts away, attributing them to the peaceful isolation of the wilderness, a place where one's mind could wander freely. It was just friendship, he told himself, the deep, comfortable bond of two people who had grown up together. They stopped for a short break at a small clearing, sipping water and sharing a bag of mixed nuts. Below them, the world stretched out like a rumpled green blanket, dotted with tiny houses and winding roads. The air was thinner here, carrying the faint scent of distant wood smoke. "This is the life, isn't it?" Sam said, leaning back against a warm rock, his eyes half closed as he soaked in the sun. "No emails, no deadlines, just us and the big wide world." Evan nodded, a soft smile on his face. "It really is. You always pick the best spot, Sam." He watched his friend, the way the sunlight caught the slight stubble on his chin, the relaxed curve of his lips. A warmth spread through Evan, a feeling that went deeper than just friendship, a feeling he rarely acknowledged, even to himself. He quickly looked away, focusing on the distant horizon, the way the blue sky met the hazy green of the valleys. With renewed energy, they continued their ascent. The trail became rockier, requiring careful footing and occasional handholds. They helped each other over tricky spots, a silent dance of trust and cooperation built over years of shared climbs. Sam would offer a hand without being asked. Evan would steady Sam's pack as he scrambled up a particularly steep section. It was seamless, natural. The sun began its slow descent, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. They knew their campsite was close now, a welcome thought after a full day of climbing. Evan felt a thrill of anticipation, not just for the rest, but for the quiet evening they would spend together, surrounded by the vast, wild beauty of the mountain. It was these moments, these shared experiences in nature, that Evan cherished most with Sam. As the last rays of sun dipped below the distant peaks, painting the sky with streaks of fiery orange and soft purple, Evan and Sam pushed forward, their legs tiring but their spirits high. The path ahead promised their camp, a small, flat area nestled just below the mountain's brow. The air was growing cooler, a refreshing change after the day's exertion. Evan found himself humming an old tune, a habit he often fell into when he felt content. Sam, ever observant, caught the faint melody. "What's that oldie you're dredging up now, Evan? Sounds like something my grandma used to listen to." He grinned, his teeth flashing white in the dimming light. Evan laughed, a warm, easy sound. "Hey, some classics never die. Besides, it's better than your usual off-key renditions of pop songs." He nudged Sam playfully with his elbow, careful not to stumble on the uneven ground. "Oh, really? You wound me." Sam clutched his chest dramatically, feigning injury. "My singing is a gift to the wilderness. The birds flock to hear my dulcet tones." He then burst into a surprisingly loud, slightly off-key rendition of a popular song, his voice echoing through the quiet forest. Evan couldn't help but laugh harder, a genuine belly laugh that made his chest ache. All right, you'll scare away all the actual wildlife. We're trying to enjoy nature, not subject it to torture." "It's called making memories, my friend," Sam declared, winking. "Someday, you'll look back on this moment and say, 'Ah, remember when Sam serenaded the squirrels on Mount Cinder?' And a tear will trickle down your cheek." "More likely a shudder," Evan retorted, still smiling. But he knew Sam was right. These were the moments they'd remember, the silly, light-hearted exchanges that were woven into the fabric of their friendship. They had a shared history of inside jokes and ridiculous stories, each one a thread connecting them. As they walked, Sam started telling a story about a time he'd tried to bake a birthday cake for his little sister when he was 10. "I thought, how hard can it be? Just mix things, right? So I didn't measure anything. Just dumped in flour, sugar, eggs. And then I saw the salt shaker. Thought, a little salt makes things taste better, doesn't it?" Evan was already picturing the scene, a mischievous grin spreading across his face. "Oh no. How much salt, Sam?" Sam winced. "Let's just say a lot. A generous amount." It looked like snow on top of the batter. My sister took one bite, her face scrunched up, and she actually spit it out right on the table. My mom just looked at me and shook her head, trying not to laugh. Evan exploded with laughter again, imagining the poor sister's reaction. "You terror. She must have been traumatized. Did you ever live that down?" "Never," Sam admitted, shaking his head with a rueful smile. "Every birthday, she brings it up. Remember the salt cake, Sam?" They continued like this, trading stories from their past, from their school days to their first awkward jobs. Evan recounted the time he'd accidentally dyed his hair bright green in a misguided attempt to impress a girl in high school. "I thought it looked punk rock," he confessed, "but I mostly just looked like a confused broccoli." She laughed at me, of course. Sam slapped his knee. "Green hair. I wish I'd seen that. Why didn't you tell me then?" "Too embarrassed," Evan admitted. "I wore a hat for a week straight." The laughter and familiar chatter kept their spirits high, even as their muscles protested the continuous climb. The green trees, now mere silhouettes against the twilight sky, seemed to lean in, listening to their tales. The singing birds had settled for the night, but the gentle rustle of leaves and the distant hoot of an owl provided a calming soundtrack to their journey. Every now and then, Evan would catch a glimpse of Sam's profile against the fading light, the strong line of his jaw, the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled. He felt a profound sense of comfort and belonging, a feeling that always deepened when they were out here, far from the demands of the world. As they finally rounded a bend, the ground leveled out slightly, revealing a small, flat clearing. A faint glimmer of moonlight filtered through the canopy, painting the area in silver. This was it, their camp for the night. A quiet sigh of relief escaped Evan's lips. The hard part of the day was over. Now, for the peaceful calm of the evening. The small, flat clearing welcomed them like an old friend. Moonlight, now stronger, filtered through the gaps in the trees, painting silver patches on the ground. A collective sigh of relief escaped both Evan and Sam as they dropped their heavy packs with a soft thud. Their shoulders ached, their legs felt like jelly, but a deep satisfaction settled over them. They had made it. Finally, Sam puffed, wiping a hand across his brow, even though the air was cool. I was starting to think this mountain had grown taller, just to spite us. Evan grinned, stretching his arms above his head, feeling his muscles pop and crack. You just need to work on your stamina, old man. All those salt cakes are weighing you down. Sam playfully shoved him. Hey, that was one time, and it was a learning experience. He bent down to unclip his backpack, his movements still graceful despite the day's exertion. Let's get this tent up before it gets truly dark. I'm ready for some real food. They worked together seamlessly, a practice dance they had performed dozens of times. Evan unrolled the tent fabric while Sam sorted the poles. There was a comfortable silence between them, punctuated only by the rustle of nylon and the click of tent poles snapping into place. Each movement was efficient, a testament to their long history of camping trips. The small dome of the tent began to take shape, a cozy shelter against the vast wilderness. As the last pole locked into place, Evan stepped back, admiring their handiwork. Perfect, our little home away from home. Sam nodded, already digging into his pack for their headlamps. Looks good. You grab the sleeping bags, I'll get the stove ready. I am starving. Inside the tent, Evan quickly unrolled their sleeping bags, laying them side by side. He paused for a moment, looking at the two familiar rolls of fabric. For years, this setup had been normal, just two friends sharing a tent. But lately, there was a subtle shift in his perception, a quiet awareness of the space between them, the warmth that would soon fill it. He shook his head slightly, trying to clear his thoughts. It was just a tent. Just Sam. He crawled out, blinking in the sudden brightness of Sam's headlamp. Sam was already setting up their small, portable stove on a flat rock, carefully attaching the fuel canister. The soft hiss of the gas and the faint smell of propane filled the air. What's on the menu tonight, Chef Sam? Evan asked, grabbing their cooking pot from his pack. Dehydrated chili, my friend, Sam announced with a flourish. A mountain delicacy, guaranteed to warm your soul, and, well, let's just say it'll keep you warm. He winked, and Evan laughed, knowing exactly what he meant. Dehydrated meals were efficient, but sometimes had their own interesting side effects. They boiled water, the small flame of the stove glowing warmly in the growing darkness. The stars, now fully visible, began to pepper the inky black sky, countless pinpricks of light against the velvet canvas. It was a sight that always humbled Evan, reminding him of how small they were in the grand scheme of things, yet how deeply connected they were to this wild, beautiful earth. While the chili rehydrated, they sat on a fallen log, looking out over the valley. The moon, a crescent sliver, cast a soft, ethereal glow over the landscape. Distant lights from a town far below twinkled like scattered jewels. The wind whispered through the pine trees, a gentle, soothing sound. You know, Evan began, his voice soft, sometimes I think this is where I feel most like myself. Out here, away from everything. Sam nodded, his gaze fixed on the horizon. Me too. It's like the mountain strips away all the extra stuff, leaves you with just what's real. He turned his head, his eyes meeting Evan's in the dim light. And it's always better with you, Evan. These trips wouldn't be the same alone. A warmth spread through Evan's chest, a feeling that had nothing to do with the chili starting to simmer on the stove. Same here, Sam. Definitely wouldn't be the same. He held Sam's gaze for a moment longer than usual, a silent current passing between them. The air seemed to hum with unspoken words, with feelings that lingered just beneath the surface. The smell of the chili finally pulled them back to the present. They ate their meal, savoring the warmth and the simple, hearty flavors. The chili, despite its dehydrated origins, tasted like the best meal Evan had ever had, made even better by the company and the stunning surroundings. They talked about the day's hike, the funny moments, the challenging parts. They planned their route for the next day, a gentler descent down the other side of the mountain. As they finished eating, the temperature dropped noticeably. A shiver ran through Evan, despite his warm jacket. "Think it's time to retreat to the warmth of our humble abode," he said, gesturing towards the tent. Sam agreed, gathering up their plates. "Good idea. It's going to be a cold one tonight." He looked up at the sky one last time, a contented smile on his face. "But what a view, right? Totally worth it." Evan looked up, too, at the infinite expanse of stars, the soft glow of the moon. He felt a deep sense of peace, a feeling of being exactly where he was meant to be, with exactly whom he was meant to be with. The cozy tent awaited, a small haven in the vast, beautiful wilderness. The last traces of their chili vanished, leaving them both feeling warm and satisfied. Sam gathered the empty plates and utensils, placing them carefully into a mesh bag for washing later. Evan, still captivated by the twilight sky, leaned back against the cool rock, his eyes scanning the horizon. The sun had finally dipped completely, but its lingering glow painted the western sky in a breathtaking display of color. "Look at that, Sam," Evan murmured, his voice hushed with awe. He pointed towards the west, where the sky was a canvas of deep purples, fiery oranges, and soft pinks. Wisps of clouds, like brushstrokes, caught the last light, turning them into streaks of gold and rose. "It's like the whole world is putting on a show just for us." Sam stopped his tidying and looked up, following Evan's gaze. A soft wow escaped his lips. He moved closer, settling beside Evan on the log, their shoulders brushing. The warmth of Sam's presence was comforting, a familiar anchor in the vastness of the mountain night. Below them, the valley was slowly fading into a deep, hazy blue. The faraway mountains, which had been crisp and green earlier, now stood as majestic, dark silhouettes against the vibrant sky. Their peaks seemed to touch the colorful clouds, as if reaching for the last kiss of the day. A few early stars, bold and bright, had already popped into existence, bravely shining amidst the lingering sunset colors. "You're right," Sam said, his voice equally quiet, almost reverent. "It's incredible. You never get tired of this, do you?" "Never," Evan confirmed, shaking his head slowly. "Every time, it feels new, like seeing it for the very first time." He took a deep breath, filling his lungs with the crisp, clean mountain air. The silence was profound, broken only by the gentle rustle of leaves and the distant chirping of crickets. It was a silence that spoke volumes, a shared moment of pure appreciation. He glanced at Sam, whose eyes were still fixed on the horizon, reflecting the last vibrant colors of the sky. The light played on Sam's face, highlighting the strong lines of his cheekbones and the curve of his lips. Evan felt that familiar warmth spread through him again, stronger this time, a quiet hum beneath his skin. In moments like these, surrounded by such raw beauty, it felt impossible to hide anything, even from himself. He allowed himself to simply feel it, this deep, tender admiration for his friend. "Remember that sunset we saw on the Appalachian Trail?" Evan asked, his voice a little softer than he intended. "The one where the clouds looked like giant cotton candy." Sam chuckled, a low, rumbling sound that vibrated slightly against Evan's arm. "Oh yeah, and you try to take a bite out of the air. You always get so goofy when you're tired and surrounded by pretty things." Evan playfully nudged him. "Hey, I was simply expressing my artistic appreciation for the meteorological phenomenon. And you were just as goofy, trying to convince me it was actually a giant marshmallow." "It could have been," Sam retorted, a mischievous glint in his eye. "You never know with these mountains. Full of surprises." He paused, then his voice grew serious again. "But seriously, this one is special. The way those reds blend into the purples. It's like a painting. A masterpiece," Evan agreed, his gaze sweeping across the vast panorama. He felt a deep connection to this place, to this moment, and most profoundly, to the person sitting beside him. It was more than just a view. It was a shared experience that cemented their bond, deepening the unspoken feelings that swirled around them like the colors in the sky. He wanted to hold onto this feeling, to bottle it up and keep it forever. The last sliver of orange faded, leaving behind a deep indigo streaked with soft violet. The stars, no longer shy, now blazed with incredible intensity, a dazzling tapestry across the entire sky. The air grew noticeably colder, a gentle reminder that even the most beautiful shows must end. Sam let out a contented sigh. "All right, Evan. As much as I'd love to freeze my butt off out here admiring the celestial wonders, I think our cozy tent is calling our names." He shifted, preparing to stand up. Evan felt a pang of reluctance. He wanted to stay, to linger in this moment, to keep watching the stars with Sam by his side. But he knew Sam was right. The cold was starting to bite. "Yeah, I guess you're right," Evan said, pushing himself up from the log. He cast one last look at the magnificent sky, imprinting the image in his mind. The colorful clouds had melted into the deep blue, leaving only the brilliant, twinkling stars and the silent, watchful mountains. It was a perfect ending to a long, fulfilling day. Or so he thought. The cold air bit at Evan's exposed skin, pulling him fully out of his reverie. He reluctantly turned away from the star-studded sky, the lingering magic of the sunset still warm in his memory. Sam was already at the tent flap, holding it open, a mischievous grin playing on his lips. "Come on, slowpoke," Sam teased, his breath misting in the frigid air. "You'll turn into an ice cube out here. This cozy tent is calling your name louder than any mountain vista." He extended a hand, a playful invitation. Evan chuckled, shaking his head. "Just one more minute to soak it all in. It's truly spectacular tonight." He took a step towards the tent, but then paused, turning back for one last look at the vast, glittering expanse above. The stars seemed to pulse with a silent energy, a reminder of the endless wonders of the universe. Sam, however, was clearly impatient for the warmth. With a soft giggle, a sound that always made Evan's heart do a funny little flip, Sam reached out and gently took Evan's arm. It wasn't a forceful tug, but a soft, warm pull that sent a shiver down Evan's spine, a shiver that had nothing to do with the cold. "Nope, time's up, stargazer," Sam declared, his eyes sparkling with amusement. He maintained his grip, his fingers warm against Evan's sleeve, and pulled him towards the tent opening. Evan, caught off guard by the unexpected touch and the playful force, stumbled a little, laughing as he bumped into Sam. Their shoulders brushed, and for a fleeting moment, they were pressed close together, the scent of pine and Sam's unique, outdoorsy smell filling Evan's senses. Sam's giggle continued, a light, joyful sound that melted away any lingering chill. He was still holding Evan's arm, his thumb unconsciously rubbing a small circle on Evan's sleeve. Evan felt a jolt, a warmth spreading from that point of contact, blossoming through his chest. All right, I'm coming," Evan said, his voice a little breathless from the laughter and the sudden closeness. He let Sam guide him, a willing participant in the playful tug-of-war. He loved these moments, these small, physical interactions that were so typical of their friendship, yet lately felt charged with something more. With another gentle pull, Sam guided Evan through the tent flap. The inside of the tent, though small, immediately felt warmer, a welcome refuge from the biting night air. Sam released Evan's arm only when they were both fully inside, pulling the zipper closed with a soft zip. The sudden enclosure made the space feel even more intimate, the sounds of the outside world muffled and distant. Sam still had a smile dancing on his lips, his eyes bright with lingering amusement. "See? Much better in here, isn't it? No frostbite for you tonight." He gestured around the small space, to their unrolled sleeping bags and the few scattered items from their packs. Evan looked at him, unable to suppress his own smile. "You're right, though I almost missed my chance to become a human icicle." He watched Sam move, the easy grace in his movements as he settled onto his sleeping bag. The headlamps cast soft, shifting shadows around them, making the tent feel even cozier. Sam leaned back against his pack, still giggling softly. You, in your dramatic flair, always got to soak in every last second. It's a good thing I'm here to save you from yourself. His eyes twinkled, full of genuine affection. Evan's heart swelled at the sight. Sam's affection was a familiar comfort, a cornerstone of his life. But tonight, in the quiet intimacy of the tent, under the watchful gaze of the distant stars, that comfort felt entwined with something else, something deeper and more potent. He found himself gazing at Sam's laughing face, the way his eyes crinkled at the corners, the slight flush on his cheeks from the cold and the exertion. He wanted to reach out, to trace the line of his jaw, to feel the warmth of his skin. He quickly suppressed the thought, a sudden flush rising to his own cheeks. He busied himself with zipping up his sleeping bag, creating a small barrier between himself and the unspoken feelings swirling within him. The playful giggling that had brought them into the tent slowly faded, replaced by a comfortable, yet increasingly charged, silence. The warmth inside the tent grew, but it wasn't just from their body heat. It was something else, something simmering just beneath the surface, ready to boil over. The zipper of the tent made a soft zip as Sam closed it, sealing them inside their small, warm world. The playful giggles that had carried them in slowly faded, replaced by the soft rustle of their movements as they settled into their sleeping bags. The air inside the tent was still, holding the faint scent of pine and the subtle aroma of their chili. Evan lay on his back, his hands clasped behind his head, staring up at the fabric ceiling, which glowed faintly from their headlamps. Sam was beside him, propped up on an elbow, fiddling with his headlamp strap. A comfortable silence stretched between them for a moment, the kind that only years of deep friendship can create. But tonight, for Evan, it felt different. It was a silence charged with a new kind of energy, a quiet hum that echoed the unspoken feelings swirling within him. He was acutely aware of Sam's presence, the warmth radiating from him just inches away. You know, Sam began, his voice softer now, the teasing gone. It's funny how these trips always bring out the best in us. Or maybe just the most real parts. He turned his head slightly, his eyes finding Evan's in the dim light. Evan shifted, meeting Sam's gaze. Yeah, he agreed, his voice a little rougher than he intended. Away from all the noise, everything just clears up. He thought about the moments earlier, watching the sunset with Sam, the profound sense of connection he'd felt. Sam nodded slowly, his expression thoughtful. It makes you think about things, doesn't it? What really matters? He paused, then took a deep breath. Evan, can I ask you something? A prickle of anticipation ran down Evan's spine. Sure, Sam. Anything. Sam hesitated, running a hand through his hair. It's just, I've been doing a lot of thinking lately. About us. About our friendship. He looked at Evan, his eyes searching, a hint of nervousness in their depths. We've been friends for so long, Evan. Since we were kids. And it's always been easy. Natural. It has. Evan confirmed, his heart starting to beat a little faster. He knew where this was going, or at least, he hoped he did. This was the edge of something, a precipice they had skirted around for years. But lately, Sam continued, his voice a little lower, it feels like there's something more. Something underneath all the jokes and the hikes. Something I can't quite put my finger on, but it's there. He looked away for a moment, then back at Evan, his vulnerability clear. Do you ever feel that? Evan's breath caught in his throat. This was it, the moment of truth. He could pretend not to understand, could deflect with a joke, could maintain the comfortable status quo. But looking at Sam, at the raw honesty in his eyes, Evan knew he couldn't. Not anymore. Yes, Sam, Evan said, his voice barely a whisper. Dull. I feel it too. He pushed himself up onto his elbows, mirroring Sam's position, closing the small distance between them. More than just something, actually. Sam's eyes widened slightly, a flicker of surprise. Then something else, something warm and hopeful. What do you mean? He asked, his voice soft. Evan took a shaky breath. I mean, it's not just friendship for me, Sam. Not anymore. It hasn't been for a while. The words, once so terrifying to even think, now tumbled out, freeing and exhilarating. I really care about you. More than just a friend. A lot more. He felt a blush creep up his neck, but he held Sam's gaze, refusing to look away. A small smile touched Sam's lips, a slow, gentle curve that melted Evan's fears. Evan, he whispered, and the way he said Evan's name, soft and full of emotion, sent another shiver through him. I hoped. He reached out, his hand hovering uncertainly for a moment, then gently rested it on Evan's arm. His touch was light, tentative, yet it felt like a jolt of electricity. Hoped what? Evan asked, his voice barely audible. Hoped you felt the same, Sam admitted, his thumb stroking Evan's arm, sending warmth through his jacket. It's been driving me crazy, Evan. This feeling, this pull towards you. Every time we're out here, every time we laugh, every time we just are together, it gets stronger. His gaze was intense, full of a longing that mirrored Evan's own. The light-hearted teasing of earlier, the easy laughter and familiar comfort, had indeed shifted. It had deepened, transformed into something far more profound, more serious, and infinitely more exciting. The warmth in the tent was no longer just from their body heat. It was from the raw, vulnerable honesty now hanging in the air between them, shimmering with untold possibilities. The world outside, the vast, star-filled mountain night, seemed to fade away, leaving only the two of them, and the breathtaking, terrifying, beautiful truth they had just begun to uncover. Sam's hand, still resting gently on Evan's arm, felt like a burning ember, sending heat through Evan's jacket and right to his core. The air in the tent, once merely cozy, now thrummed with a palpable energy, a mixture of nerves and exhilarating hope. They were both propped on their elbows, facing each other, the small distance between them feeling vast and insignificant all at once. It's been so long, Evan finally managed, his voice a little shaky, that I almost convinced myself it was just really good friendship, that this feeling was normal for best friends. He gestured vaguely between them, but it wasn't. It never was. Sam nodded slowly, his eyes never leaving Evan's. I know that feeling, the trying to talk yourself out of it. Like, no, this is Sam, my friend, my hiking buddy. But then you catch yourself looking at him, really looking at him, and it's like a punch to the gut. In a good way. A small, wry smile played on his lips. And then you try to distract yourself by making a bad joke or pointing out a bird. Evan let out a soft, nervous laugh. Exactly. The bird thing, I do that all the time. He remembered countless moments on trails, in cafes, at parties, where a fleeting glance, a shared laugh, a touch on the arm had sent a jolt through him, only for him to quickly pivot, to make a comment about the weather or the trail ahead. He had built walls around these feelings, carefully constructed over years, brick by silent brick. Now, Sam was effortlessly dismantling them. I remember, Sam continued, his thumb still tracing slow circles on Evan's arm, when we were in college. That road trip we took to the coast. You fell asleep in the passenger seat, and your head was leaning against the window, and the sun was setting, making your hair look like fire. He paused, a faraway look in his eyes. I couldn't stop looking at you. And I felt this ache, this longing, and I had no idea what it was. I just knew it was powerful. Evan's heart ached with a sweet, painful familiarity. He remembered that trip, remembered waking up feeling strangely refreshed, as if he'd been watched over. He had felt something too. That trip, a closeness that transcended their usual camaraderie. I remember that trip, Evan whispered. I felt it too. I just didn't have the words. And then, Sam went on, his voice gaining a little more strength. There was that time you got sick, and I brought you soup, and you looked so miserable, but you still managed to crack a joke. I wanted to pull you close and tell you everything was going to be okay. And it was more than just a friend wanting to comfort another friend. He squeezed Evan's arm gently. It was like, I wanted to be there. Always. Evan felt a tear prick at the corner of his eye, a sudden rush of emotion. All those years, all those hidden moments, all those unspoken feelings. They weren't alone in this. Sam had felt it too. It was a revelation that was both terrifying and incredibly freeing. I used to get so jealous, Evan confessed, his voice barely audible, when you talked about dates or crushes. I pretend to be interested, but inside, it felt like a twist in my gut. And I hated myself for it, because you were my best friend, and I was supposed to be happy for you. He finally let his gaze drop, unable to hold Sam's intense stare any longer, feeling the weight of years of unspoken longing. Sam's hand left Evan's arm, and Evan's heart sank for a moment, only for Sam to gently cup Evan's cheek, turning his face back up. His touch was warm, firm, and incredibly tender. "Evan," Sam said, his voice husky with emotion. "I felt that too. Every time you mentioned someone, it was like a little knife. I just thought I was being selfish, wanting you all to myself as a friend." He shook his head slightly. But it was more than that, wasn't it? Evan could only nod, his throat tight with emotion. The dam had broken. All the secret feelings, hidden away for so long, were now pouring out, raw and exposed in the dim light of the tent. It was overwhelming, exhilarating, and utterly terrifying. So many wasted years, Evan whispered, a hint of regret in his voice. Sam's thumb stroked his cheek. "Not wasted," he corrected softly. "They were years that led us here, to this moment, to finally being brave enough to say it." His eyes, full of a depth Evan had only glimpsed before, searched Evan's face. "So, what do we do now, Evan?" The question hung in the air, heavy with possibility, shimmering with the promise of a future Evan had only dared to dream of in the deepest, most secret corners of his heart. The answer, though daunting, felt incredibly clear. "So, what do we do now, Evan?" Sam's question hung in the air, a whisper of possibility and a challenge. His thumb, still on Evan's cheek, felt like a grounding force amidst the swirling emotions. Evan looked into Sam's eyes, seeing a reflection of his own vulnerability, his own hope. I don't know," Evan admitted, his voice barely a breath. "I've never let myself think this far ahead." He laughed softly, a shaky, disbelieving sound. "I thought this was just a secret I'd carry forever." Sam's smile was gentle, filled with an understanding that brought a fresh wave of warmth to Evan's chest. "Me too, but it's out now. It's real." His gaze dropped to Evan's lips for a fleeting moment, then back to his eyes, a silent question hanging between them. Outside the tent, the vast, inky night sky stretched endlessly, a magnificent dome sprinkled with countless twinkling stars. Each tiny pinprick of light seemed to shimmer a little brighter, as if aware of the profound shift happening within the small fabric dwelling below. The crescent moon, a sliver of silver, cast a soft, ethereal glow, illuminating the peaks and valleys of Mount Cinder in shades of gray and deep blue. It was as if the entire wilderness, from the silent, ancient trees to the distant, watchful stars, had paused, holding its breath for this moment. Inside, the world felt compressed, focused solely on them. Evan felt his heart pounding a frantic rhythm against his ribs, a drumbeat of both fear and incredible excitement. He leaned in almost imperceptibly, his eyes still locked with Sam's. The air between them felt thick, electric. Sam seemed to take that as an invitation. His hand tightened slightly on Evan's cheek, his fingers brushing against Evan's jawline. Slowly, tentatively, he leaned closer. Evan's breath hitched. He closed his eyes, a wave of dizzying anticipation washing over him. Then, Sam's lips were on his. It was a soft, hesitant touch at first, a gentle press that felt like a question, a confirmation. Evan responded instantly, his own lips parting slightly, moving against Sam's with a hunger he hadn't known he possessed. The kiss deepened, becoming more confident, more passionate. It was everything Evan had ever dreamed of, a release of years of unspoken longing, a silent explosion of emotions that had been carefully bottled up for so long. Sam's other hand moved to the back of Evan's neck, pulling him closer still, deepening the kiss further. Evan's hands found purchase on Sam's shoulders, gripping the fabric of his jacket, feeling the solid warmth of him beneath. The world outside the tent, the cold air, the long hike, all faded into insignificance. There was only Sam, his taste, his scent, the incredible feeling of his lips against Evan's. When they finally broke apart, breathless and a little shaky, their foreheads rested against each other. Their eyes were still closed for a moment, savoring the afterglow, the delicious shock of what had just happened. Evan opened his eyes first, meeting Sam's gaze. Sam's eyes were wide, a little dazed, but shining with an emotion that made Evan's heart soar. "Wow," Sam whispered, a soft, amazed sound. "Wow." Evan could only nod, a goofy, triumphant smile spreading across his face. "Yeah, wow." He felt a lightness he hadn't realized he was missing, a joy that radiated from every cell in his body. The fear that had always accompanied his feelings for Sam had vanished, replaced by an overwhelming sense of rightness. Sam chuckled a low, contented sound. He pulled back slightly, but kept one hand cupping Evan's cheek, his thumb stroking gently. "So, I guess that answers the what do we do now question, at least for tonight." His eyes twinkled with a newfound playfulness, a warmth that was different from their usual teasing, deeper and more intimate. Evan leaned into the touch, feeling completely safe, completely seen. "I guess it does," he agreed, his voice still a little breathless. He reached up, his fingers intertwining with Sam's on his cheek. He looked up at the tent's ceiling, imagining the endless stars beyond, feeling their silent witness. The night sky, full of twinkling stars, seemed to indeed watch over their special moment, a silent, knowing guardian of their long-awaited truth. It was a perfect, magical end to a day that had begun with a simple hike and ended with a profound discovery. The gentle stroking of Sam's thumb on Evan's cheek was a physical anchor, keeping him tethered to this incredible, unfolding moment. The air in the tent still hummed with the aftershocks of their kiss, a sweet, thrilling vibration that resonated deep within Evan's bones. He couldn't stop smiling, a wide, genuine grin that felt like it reached his ears. "I can't believe that just happened," Evan finally said, his voice a little hoarse, a joyful disbelief coloring his words. He kept his eyes fixed on Sam's, wanting to drink in every nuance of his expression. Sam chuckled, a soft, happy sound. "Me neither. I mean, I hoped it would, but actually doing it." He shook his head slightly, his smile mirroring Evan's. "It's a little bit wild, isn't it?" "Wild is an understatement," Evan agreed, his heart still doing happy flips in his chest. He felt a profound sense of relief, a lightness that made him feel as if he could float. All the years of carrying this secret, this unspoken yearning, had suddenly lifted, replaced by an exhilarating freedom. They lay there for a while, just looking at each other, the soft glow of their headlamps casting a warm, intimate light around them. There's so much to say, so many years of bottled-up emotions, but for now, simply being in this space with this new, tender understanding was enough. The silence was no longer charged with unspoken longing, but with a comfortable, happy wonder. "So," Sam began, breaking the quiet, a mischievous glint returning to his eyes, "does this mean I won't have to save you from turning into an icicle anymore?" Evan laughed, a clear, joyous sound that echoed softly in the small tent. "Well, you probably still will. I'm a sucker for a good view." He reached out, his hand tentatively covering Sam's where it still rested on his cheek. "But maybe I won't mind the cold quite so much if you're there to pull me in." Sam's smile widened, and he leaned in, pressing a soft, lingering kiss to Evan's forehead. "Always, Evan. Always." A comfortable warmth settled over them, a feeling that went beyond the physical heat of the sleeping bags. It was the warmth of shared truth, of long-held desires finally acknowledged. Evan felt a wave of happiness, so intense it almost brought tears to his eyes. He had known Sam for so long, thought he knew everything about him, every quirk, every joke, every habit. Yet, tonight he had discovered a whole new layer, a hidden depth that made his heart ache with a beautiful kind of joy. "I'm really happy, Sam," Evan whispered, his voice thick with emotion. He squeezed Sam's hand. Really, really happy. Sam's fingers intertwined with Evan's, a firm, comforting grip. Me too, Evan. More than words can say. He looked up at the tent's ceiling, as if seeing the stars beyond. It's crazy, isn't it? All this time, all these hikes, all these years, and we just kept it tucked away. It's kind of amazing, actually, Evan mused. Like the mountain was waiting for us to finally figure it out. He thought back to the sunset, the colorful clouds, the distant mountains. It felt like the perfect backdrop for such a monumental shift in their relationship. They talked for hours, their voices low and soft, sharing more memories, but now with a new lens. They spoke of glances exchanged, of unspoken words, of moments of heightened awareness that they had both dismissed as mere friendship. Each revelation was met with a soft laugh or a gentle touch, reinforcing the incredible discovery they had made. There was a joyful surprise in their voices, a sense of wonder at how something so profound had been hiding in plain sight for so long. I remember, Sam said, a soft smile on his face. That time you fell on the trail and twisted your ankle. I was so worried, but when I helped you up, you just leaned into me and it felt so natural, like you were meant to be there. Evan nodded, remembering the warmth of Sam's arm around his waist, the strength in his grip. And I remember thinking how much I didn't want you to let go. They chuckled together, the sound of their shared happiness filling the tent. The initial shock of their confessions had given way to a deep, abiding contentment. It felt right, profoundly right. The fear of rejection, of ruining their friendship, had been a heavy burden. Now it was gone, replaced by an open, exhilarating future. They were still Evan and Sam, the longtime hiking friends, but now they were something more, something wonderfully new and exciting. And they were both, without a doubt, incredibly happy about it. The hours melted away as Evan and Sam continued to talk, their voices growing softer, their words interspersed with comfortable silences and gentle touches. The initial rush of excitement had settled into a deep, warm contentment. They had turned off their headlamps, letting the faint moonlight filtering through the tent fabric be their guide. The world outside was a symphony of night sounds, the whisper of the wind, the distant hoot of an owl, the rustle of unseen creatures in the underbrush. But inside their tent, it was a peaceful, intimate haven. Evan, now snuggled deep into his sleeping bag, felt Sam shift beside him. Sam reached out, his hand finding Evan's in the darkness. Their fingers intertwined naturally, a silent promise in the gentle squeeze. Tired, Evan whispered, his voice thick with sleepiness and happiness. A little, Sam mumbled back, his voice already heavy with slumber, but in a good way. He squeezed Evan's hand again. Best hike ever. Evan smiled, his eyes already drifting closed. Definitely the best. He felt a profound sense of peace, a feeling he hadn't fully experienced before. It wasn't just the exhaustion from the hike or the comfort of the sleeping bag, but the overwhelming sense of being truly seen, truly loved by the person beside him. All the unspoken desires, all the hidden feelings had finally found their voice, and the world hadn't ended. In fact, it had just begun. He turned his head slightly, trying to catch a glimpse of Sam in the dim light. Sam was already almost asleep, his breathing soft and even. Evan felt a surge of tenderness, a protective warmth spread through him. He imagined Sam's easy smile, the crinkle around his eyes when he laughed, the way he always found beauty in the smallest things. All the qualities he had admired for so long now felt like treasures he could openly cherish. As sleep began to pull at him, Evan thought about the day ahead, the descent down the mountain, the packing up of camp, the drive home. It would all be different now. Every shared moment, every touch, every glance would carry a new meaning, a deeper resonance. The playful teasing would still be there, he knew, but it would be layered with a newfound intimacy, a joyful secret they now shared. He imagined waking up next to Sam, seeing the first light of dawn filter into the tent, knowing that the person he cared for most in the world was right there beside him. The thought brought another wave of warmth, a quiet, settled happiness that hummed beneath his skin. Sam shifted again, and Evan felt a move closer, their shoulders brushing. It was a subtle, comforting contact that spoke volumes. Evan let out a contented sigh, allowing himself to fully relax into the warmth and the closeness. He closed his eyes, a final, happy thought floating through his mind. They were closer than ever before. Not just physically, but in every way that mattered. The sounds of the mountain night became a lullaby, the gentle rustling of leaves outside the tent a soft whisper of the world continuing its cycle. But inside, their world had shifted, expanded, and settled into a new, beautiful rhythm. They had faced their fears, spoken their truths, and found something precious and real in the quiet intimacy of their mountain retreat. Evan drifted off to sleep, a soft smile on his face, his hands still intertwined with Sam's. He felt a deep sense of security, of belonging. The unknown future ahead no longer felt daunting, but exciting, full of promise. He was ready for whatever the new day and this new chapter with Sam would bring. They both were. They had found their way home, not just to a campsite on a mountain, but to each other,